So now let's deal with Backstack for fragments. So in Android Studio, we can use one of the examples that we worked on before. In this example, there is a main activity, frame layout, and button. When I open the main activity, the first fragment is running inside the frame layout, right? And when I click the button, the second fragment is shown inside the frame layout instead of the first fragment. Now, if we look at the Java code inside the main activity, first up, the first fragment is running. Then, the second fragment runs inside the button's click listener. Now, have a look at this. There's no finish button in here, right? So if you think the fragment is an activity, when we open the second fragment, the first fragment must be added to stack because we didn't close the first fragment with code. So why don't we run the application and see? And we can see how the backstack method works with fragments. So the application opens, and the first fragment starts to run just by opening. And after clicking the button, the second fragment also opens. When I click on the back button, the application is closed. So in fact, first fragment must be open. That means the backstack system doesn't work on fragments. So in other words, when we open a new fragment, the old fragment doesn't go to the stack. So that means that I've got to have a process to add to the stack with code. So let's go back and have a look at the main activity code again. Here, while the second fragment is running, the first fragment closes. And as you may remember in activity, that process was completely the opposite. Activity was not closing by itself. So now I will add the first fragment to stack with code. And in the second fragment opening section after the add method, I'll write fragment transaction.add to backstack null. Now that method will run stack empty. So by using this, because the stack system won't work, the first fragment won't close and it will be added to the stack. So that means I've got to make a process to keep the old fragment in stack while opening up a new one. So now let's run the application again. Application opens, first fragment is running, and I'm opening the second fragment. Second fragment is also opening, and after clicking the back button, the first fragment is open. Because the first fragment was added back to the stack. Just by clicking the back button, it carries it from the stack. So now stack is empty, and when I click the back button again, the application closes. So if you use more than 2 fragments, let's say 5 fragments, you can add fragments into stack however much you want to just by writing the code. And sure, there you go. That's backstack and fragments. See you in the next video.